Welcome to Merryfield's Gardening Advisor, brought to you by the experts at Merryfield Garden Center. Join us as we discover beautiful plants, new trends, and exciting ideas for your landscape. So let's get growing together. Merryfield's Gardening Advisor, bringing out the best in your garden.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Merryfield's Gardening Advisor. Peggy and I are here today on this chilly morning, but beautiful outside with all the fall color. And you know, fall color, there's so much gorgeous color out there, but there is another whole group of plants that are just as important and just as versatile, and that's evergreens. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
We're really going to focus on evergreens today, or ever yellow, or ever red, They play such an important part in our landscapes outside. And I want to share a few of actually my favorites, because you have to narrow the field to some degree, But yes, I do want to share with you what's available. And that changes almost every year, because industry really is playing with these plants, and I'm very excited about it. And so I do look forward to sharing that with you. And if we bring up the first picture, perhaps it can just give you a little inclination as to what we will be talking about. Actually, this is a display garden, but it shows so well different sizes. You're going to hear me talk about texture, form, because you've got upright form and you've got the horizontal form, and different colors within those plants. Every one of the ones in this picture are all needled evergreens and serve different purposes in different sized landscapes, and we will talk about using them in your landscape, whether it be very small, perhaps even just a deck.
Right.
There's still possibilities for using these evergreens.
And as you say, there's so many choices. You really need to take a look at these.
And that I really want to share with you, because hopefully it will make your choices easier. And this is a wonderful time to take a good hard look at your landscape, because most of the leaves are off now of the deciduous trees. And you can see easily where you might have a hole that needs something, and you might consider it's an evergreen. So we're gonna talk about these things today.
Well, before we get to that, there is a lot going on at Merryfield Garden Center. In addition to all the gardening, wonderful gardening things, we have also been getting ready for the holidays. So if you've been in our stores, you know that we have beautiful. Our stores are being transformed into beautiful Christmas shops, and some are a little messier than others because we're working. So we hope you'll excuse us for that. But we're getting it all together, because this coming Thursday night, the 20th, we are going to have our 5th annual Ladies' Night Out at all 3 stores. It's from 6 to 9 p.m. and this is so much fun. This is kind of our kickoff. We're introducing the Christmas shops to everyone. So there's going to be lots of fun. We're going to be appetizers, wine tastings, music, just fun shopping, a fun night for everybody to get out. Now, we call it Ladies' Night Out, but you gentlemen are invited as well.
Every now and then we have a gentleman.
That's right.
Mostly it's ladies.
And you will be making your arrangements and that type thing, probably?
I'll be there doing something. Don't pin me down.
I know, that's me. We're on a totally as-need-to-know basis. Well,
I'll be there.
Exactly. So we do hope you'll come. It's so much fun. This is our 5th one, and it's just every year has been better and better. So we look forward to seeing you there. We're also very excited because in addition to unveiling our Christmas shops, we're unveiling something very special, at least very special to me. This is a book that we've written on my dad. And it's called The American Dream, The Rags to Roses Story of Bob Warhurst and the Founding of Merryfield Garden Center. And that title truly says what it is, because it's a fascinating book, great stories in there, things that I had not heard before. And this is my dad. But lots of great stories. He started as a very poor family in Alabama, came to Virginia as a teenager, followed his brothers up here to make his way in life, and started businesses, became very successful, raised a wonderful family, and it's a great read. So that will be available. We're very excited because the paperback edition should be available on Thursday night. Fingers crossed. Yeah. That's what they're telling us.
That is exciting because it's been a few days in the process.
Yes, we've been keeping it under wraps, but now it's there, and you know, Peggy's in the book, and you know, it's a lot of fun. So I hope you'll enjoy it as much as we do. So look forward to that. A couple of save the dates. Lots coming up over the holidays. I can't believe the holidays are here. It's just amazing how time has flown. Our decorating classes will begin next Saturday, the 22nd. So we'll have 2 then and 2 on December 6th. Our holiday open house will be November 28th through the 30th, Thanksgiving weekend, as always. And Santa arrives on Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. And then also at our Fair Oaks location, Carla Steinbach of the Steinbach Nutcrackers is going to be back with us at the Fair Oaks location. She's going to be there from 11 to 3 on Saturday of a holiday open house weekend, signing nutcrackers, talking to everyone. She's fascinating.
She really is,
yeah.
And the Steinbecks are lovely.
Oh, yes.
And it's nice to have her signature.
It really
you
is,
know?
yeah. She's actually signed, you know, over the couple of years, she's actually signed some that we have available for sale already that have the signature. But it's so much better to get it and have her sign it directly
and
to
a
you.
picture often with her.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, she's
that's
lovely,
good.
Just lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's all the announcements. Lots going on, isn't it exciting?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I hope we'll carry you with this excitement through the program today, because I'm always excited about evergreens. Look at the color in evergreens. Yes, we all enjoy flowers, but you don't have to have flowers all the time, or you can have a few. Actually, in this picture, of course, there are no flowers. But look at the beauty of that, and think, now we're going into the winter time and lacking a lot of those flowers, except, oh my goodness, are my camellias beautiful right now. Oh, they're so lovely. But this is going to show you not just the colors that are available from the blues and the golds and the greens, and yes, you need green. But in one side of this picture, you'll see a bronzy color and also a yellow. That happens to be a broadleaf, which is 2 varieties of Japanese maple. And they are giving you additional contrast. And so I'm not recommending just needled evergreens. And in the following picture, you can see, again, back to a display garden. Look how interesting this is with the form of trees. A blue atlas cedar in the background that is an evergreen can give you a tremendous contrast if you have the space. But we're talking about space as we move along through this program, because many of these plants have miniatures that you can use in containers or in rock gardens, and many of them can go 40, 50 feet tall. So we're going to differentiate as the program progresses which ones have these various sizes available. It's interesting.
It is. So we hope you'll stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break and come right back with these versatile evergreens.
Yeah.
Picked up on the wise old owl there from the last break.
Yes, this was so cute going out. Diane, who brings a lot of these fun things along with her. And I was just saying to Debbie, his little eyes don't show up so well, but he's cute as he can be, you know. I just said, I believe in accessorizing too. I enjoy it. Now, granted, this one's not so good for outside, okay, but a fun one for inside. And this is one neat part of the Christmas thing that's going on right now. There are so many things that are accessories.
I know. I love going down there and seeing what's new and different.
Well, I think everybody does, you know, because so much of it is unique. I'm so often busy outside, and while many years ago was very involved with the Christmas shop, haven't been recently. And it was just very thrilling yesterday afternoon to join in the chaos.
It was so fun watching you fluff those trees and get them ready to go.
It was, yes. And so, anyway, back to our topic.
That's right. And I forgot to mention we're going to be taking your phone calls later in the show, so
Yeah,
save
we
up
will
for that.
be. Back to the topic, and if we bring up, in addition to talking about some of these individual evergreens, I feel that it's always good to see how other people have used them. And this actually is a property that's bordering a development. And I was so impressed with how well it was done, Debbie.
Beautiful.
The primary feature in the front is a very interesting plant called gold mop cypress. It's a type of Chamaecyparis, and it can get pretty good size. It may say 4 feet on it, but mine's at least 6. You know,
You were talking about colors in the evergreens, and that's spectacular.
it really is. And as we're getting into these colors, we're going to introduce the fact that judiciously pruning from them, you can use them for your Christmas decorations. But before we leave this picture, because I think it's so important, look at the use of 4 or 5 of these as an accent. Your eye goes immediately to that. And by judicious pruning, you can keep this plant below 4 feet. It's not that big a deal, okay? And it has a lot of contrasts in there because there's a broadleaf evergreen behind it, which is a great contrast. Semi-evergreen, I probably should say, because I think it's a viburnum, which I'm very fond of also. And in the following picture, we're going to pick up on that same garden as it goes further out into their space that is adjacent to the development. Here you're seeing another grouping, which is a pickup in a larger space. If you've got the room, it's a good thing. It's a pickup of that same gold mop cypress, but behind it is also a grouping of butterfly bush, which is deciduous, and you can cut it back slightly now, but the best time is to wait and cut it back in March, and it will come back and be absolutely beautiful. And let's run through just a few others here in this segment. Cryptomeria. I grew up in the deep south with huge cryptomeria, and they had beautiful, beautiful cones on them, which we used in Christmas decorating. They can be very tall. They can go easily 30, 40 feet tall, but now there are dwarfer forms. There is one called Black Dragon that's under 10 feet, which is perfect for a small garden. Now you can even get them down to 2 or 3 feet, and perhaps even in the miniature size. Cryptomeria. It is a beautiful evergreen and wonderful for Christmas decorations. And in the following picture is another favorite. Much underused. In the one corner of this picture, it's a form of Chamaecyparis. It's Cryptsy. I really do. Hinoki. It's the Hinoki group. Cryptsy. It has beautiful, beautiful gold tips to it. This particular one is in a fair amount of shade, and yes, some of these will take a lot of shade. If it were in the sunshine, it would be much more gold, Debbie, but it does receive a lot of shade there.
I love the way that the gold tips and the darker inside just
makes it
looks
pop
together. It does. It's beautiful.
Right. And then there is the color pickup of that gold tip of the golden Japanese maple, which is also a broad leaf and a nice contrast there. And in the foreground, of course, are boxwood. And we will talk more about boxwood in later programs, because boxwood plays a major
yes.
role in the landscape, but you know, it also plays a big role in our Christmas decorations too. I really do enjoy that very much.
Making those boxwood trees.
Absolutely. Well, the boxwood trees, a lot of people like boxwood wreaths, boxwood anything.
Right.
And then the next picture, talk about interest.
That's great.
I snapped this picture in the garden out at our Fair Oaks location. It's a Norway spruce, but it's one with character for sure. And look at the cones that are on that. Fun. And those cones could be used for Christmas decorations too. It's a weeping Norway spruce. And the following picture, guess what? It's another weeper with a lot of character. And these things can be pruned to even encourage that character. This is a weeping pine. And by the way, if you see browning within your pine trees, don't panic because it's totally natural. They do drop needles at this time of the year. And I think we have time for one more.
Let's see, two more.
Two more? Okay. Let's get into the blues. The blue forms of these wonderful evergreens. Blue spruce. Now this is a sticky little fellow.
Oh yes.
If you've got an area where you really want to restrict passage through, this is a good choice. But like, you don't have to have that huge blue spruce. Although they are somewhat slow growing, they can get quite big. There are those that are under 10 feet, and this one is probably Montgomery. And look how intense that blue is. And look
Love
how
the shade of that.
Look how beautiful the intensity of the red color of that euonymus behind it. Yes, burning bush. And it does look like it's burning, doesn't it?
It does.
You can also get, now that's a spreader, different form.
Right.
In the Wichita blue junipers, this is an upright juniper. And there are several that have blue casts to them. This is one of the bluest. Again, very trimmable, judiciously pruned, can be maintained under 10 feet. And so it's very attractive. So far the deer haven't eaten my juniper, you know.
They're not too hungry
yet.
You
have to think about that. Yeah,
absolutely.
And what they will and won't.
Right.
I don't think they eat that blue spruce either.
Yeah, hopefully not. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Peggy's going to be in our virtual garden. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Merrifield's Gardening Advisor. As I said, I've sent Peggy over into our virtual garden. She loves being out there. So, Peggy, what do you have for us?
I like being out in the garden, especially when I can be inside out in the garden. In 20 degrees, you know. I'm finding my comfort zone's getting a little narrower, you know. Behind me is an absolute favorite of the Evergreens. It's Little Jim Magnolia. As I said, I'm showing you some of my really, really favorite evergreens. But the beauty of it is most of them can be adapted because of the sizes available to very small gardens, even a townhouse garden, and often even if you're growing in containers. Now, I don't necessarily suggest that you try the Magnolia Little Jim because yes, it does get up to 12, 15 feet for sure, unless you have a really big container, okay? But this particular plant was taken at the Fair Oaks location of Merrifield Garden Center, and you can see the blossom back here. It has truly had blossoms on it for the last 3, maybe 4 months, and they're incredibly fragrant. But this is also, in addition to be a lovely plant for your landscape and a nice block, it's just the right size for small gardens if you're trying to block a particular view, okay? It's also wonderful in arranging, whether it's Christmas time or not. It's beautiful. Let's continue to roll through some of these choices, but that's a good choice. Topiaries. you will hear me talking a bit about containers for winter, because that's very important. We have a number of people coming in saying, okay, now my annuals are gone. What am I going to do in the winter time? Sometimes, yes, you can do pansies. Yes, you can particularly do the kales. They're beautiful. But think evergreens. These are any number of beautiful topiaries that can be an accent piece out in your garden, or incredible in containers. And don't be afraid to do that, because they hold up really quite well. Let's roll through some of these, okay? Junipers. Junipers are beautiful. You see, or used to see particularly, a lot of junipers used. This is a horizontal one, and they can be quite prostrate. Very, very low on the ground with some varieties. Some that go up to 2 feet, some to 3 feet. This particular gold-tipped one can certainly go 4 feet. It too happens to be at the Fair Oaks location, and I prune heavily on this one for our Christmas greens because it's so lovely. And guess what? That's a great way to keep the size under control. But I love the gold tip. I use my gloves most of the time when I'm working with these, because most of the junipers can be a little prickly, but they hold up well when they're in water, okay? Next one, please. Holly. I took a picture here of one that is approximately, well, 6 or 7 feet right now, and will go up to pretty much 10 feet. It's a beautiful evergreen, and if you have a little boy somewhere, then you have incredible berries. There are so many varieties of holly. You really need to take a close look at what they can do for you, and even little miniature ones. Okay, the next one. This also is a garden that we did a number of years ago at the Fair Oaks location to showcase some of the fountains and some of the statuary. And this is actually 3 arborvitae that are in a grouping. This is a very good way to use evergreens if you want to really mark the border or block a view or have a background even for other plants. Arborvitae is a beautiful choice for this. Now, the evergreen is also repeated by the boxwood in a grouping here. And you've got a rounded form now with an upright form here, which is very complementary. And of course, we have displayed a lot of containers in the fall in this particular area too. And you can see they're deciduous trees, most of which are crepe myrtle. I think there's a fringe tree over here, very interesting. And then back in here, cannas, okay. If you haven't dug your cannas and your dahlias, now's the time to do it and bring them inside the garage. Put them where they won't freeze. Next picture, please. This is one of our clients' gardens, and I've always enjoyed using the pictures from that garden because here again, it is a line. This is a property border going up a walkway through their garden. And it is, again, a very narrow type of arborvitae. But they have so many different and lovely plants here that they're showcasing. Look at the different types of Japanese maples. And you've got the gold, you've got the broadleaf, you've got the bronze, which is a broadleaf, good contrast. Still another one back in this area. And one of the very golden evergreens there. It just is very interesting. And this garden is going to be just as interesting in the winter time as it is or was when this picture was taken, which was probably summertime. I think that we have one more picture let's share with you. Okay, this one I do want to talk just a tiny bit about, okay? Some very unusual things. This is a euonymus greenspan. It is a variegated euonymus that is just really nifty. And again, by trimming it periodically, judiciously pruning it at this time of the year, you can keep it under 10 feet. Normally it wants to be 8 to 10 feet. There are large Hinoki cypress here. Hinoki cypress are available from these really big ones, both here and over here, or they're available in little miniatures and everything in between. I absolutely love Hinoki cypress. It's just a beautiful, very rewarding plant. And then if you step past the green spire euonymus, you've got a Cephalotaxis, false yew. It's not a true yew. This is one that if you have a lot of deer and you cannot grow our beautiful dwarf English yew or the Hicks yew, the upright yew, do the Cephalotaxis, because normally they do not eat that. I have never had that happen, okay? But never say never. And then over on this side, you have several different types of Hinoki cypress. Very interesting, a lot of fun, just great plants. We'll be back in a moment and share more thoughts and ideas with you in how to use those plants.
Welcome back out of the garden. We have been talking about evergreens today, you know, how beautiful they are in the landscape, and besides their beauty, they're good for borders and keeping your privacy a little bit, but there's another great option for using evergreens. Yeah,
there's a great option for using evergreens, but just before I get too much into that, I want to show you just a few things that I brought along with me, if I can give the cameras a moment to get over here, okay? Because I've decided to stand up next to these, okay? We were talking about the different varieties that are available, and it's very exciting that we have so many choices, because I spoke of really wonderful things. And if you look at the tags, and it's important to look at the tags to tell you how big they will get, this particular one is Chamaecyparis, which is a type of Hinoki. It's called Spirited, and its spread in 10 years is 4 feet. But guess what? In that 10 years, if it's grown in a container, can be much, much smaller than that, because when you grow things in containers, it restricts their size. They kind of bonsai's them, you know, or through judicious pruning, okay? And then look at this lovely little pixie spruce here, the dwarf Alberta spruce. And a word to you, please, if you are growing these little Christmas tree looking spruces, they thrive in some shade in the afternoon, dappled light or whatever. They don't really like the hottest afternoon sun. They have a tendency to spider mites. Other than that, you'll absolutely love this spruce. And it is a great one for using in containers this time of the year. But look, here is another little Chamaecyparis, a little cushion form. It's just a treasure. But look at the contrast. Contrast of color, contrast of shape. There's a wealth of interest in these. Now, getting a little bigger in some of the blues, but here again, if you're using them in containers or even in the garden from day one with some of the pruning, look at this one. This is another type of Chamaecyparis. Now, we're holding up, and this really emphasizes the colors. You've got the gold, you've got the blue, and then the solid greens. That's really very, very interesting. So there is a lot to be desired. And I even brought one that is the low growing one. Look at that. That really is a lovely thing too. All right, I want to touch quickly because we're just getting into this season, and it's as much a reminder as anything else. I'm going to lift this up. We're coming in for a lot of people who celebrate Advent and sometimes forget to get their Advent wreath going early because I believe that the first Sunday of Advent is the last day of November.
I think so.
And this particular Advent wreath is so much safer to burn than those that we have used in the past. And you know, Debbie, I'm going to sit down next to you again. If you'll pick that one up, we'll just give them a little bit of a thought before we go on. This is an Oasis ring, and you will hear me talking more and more about, yes, you hold that so much better than I do. Thank you. This is wettable. You soak it thoroughly. It is an Oasis ring, and then you put it in a plate that will hold water and keep it off your good tables, yes, surfaces. It has candle holders that are taped into it, and then the different greens that you begin to put inside of there. And if you take this to your kitchen sink and wet it down thoroughly every 2 or 3 days, you can keep these greens fresh throughout the 4 weeks of Advent. Now, all that being said, I like to be particularly careful with candles.
Right.
With these, you need to be careful that you don't allow them to burn down really low, because these greens are fresh. They're not flammable, but you know, it's like the deer. Right. Never say never.
Exactly.
You need to always be careful with candles. I just brought along, and we won't talk about this particular one today. I used this actually for a demonstration the other night, and it is a centerpiece. Want to hang on to that one?
Sure.
It is a centerpiece that is, again, in Oasis and will hold up for a long, long time. And we do have people who come in and ask for candles within here.
Right.
And I beg of you, please, to always watch those candles also. Candles are safest when they're behind glass.
Right.
But sometimes they're not, and then you need to pay attention.
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
I did tuck some roses into this because the colors were so nice.
I know, they're beautiful.
And the ribbon choices.
So good.
The ribbon choices are so great because Tina was working with the roses, and I said to her, "Do you have any extras? I'd like to tuck some roses into here." And so that's what we did. And in actuality, I've got to make a confession. I left them in the car Thursday night.
Overnight.
And I left them in the car yesterday. And I took them out this morning, and I wondered, oh, how are they going to be?
They're looking pretty good there.
They're okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they're okay because they like to be cool, and I was hoping that they'd still be pretty today. So here again, some of the roses that we're getting, particularly the ones that Tina's worked with, and oh my goodness, does she do a magnificent job, have held up so well. Right. I'm just really amazed.
Oh, I know.
And pleased. So you're going to be hearing more about working with fresh greens.
That's right. We're doing a lot of that throughout the holidays.
Yes.
We're going to take a break. As we go out, there's a couple pictures maybe we could go out on of some of these arrangements.
Oh, yes.
And
yes,
we're going to be taking your phone calls when we come back. So
I forgot about those pictures. Here's one that I had done using even the pickup of the balls. And guess what? The next picture, yes, it's my grandson. The kids need to get involved again. He did this all by himself.
That's great. We'll be right back. Okay, it's phone call time, 703-387-1046 is our number. And Peggy, we have 2 callers on the line already.
Very good.
May is calling from Washington, D.C. Hi, May.
Hi, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
Just fine, thank you. I enjoy your program.
Thank you. What's your question today?
I have some old Christmas cactus, and they'll grow, but they won't bloom anymore. They haven't bloomed for years, and I was wondering, how can I start them back blooming again?
That's a very good question. My mother actually had a Christmas cactus as long as I could remember, but you know what? I've never grown Christmas cactus. I don't grow as many things indoors, although I'm trying to overwinter some stuff this time because I'm trying to learn more and more about some of the tropical succulents, and they don't require a great deal of care. Once upon a time, I asked my sons to, maybe we should build a greenhouse for me. And they said, nope, Mom, not going to do it. I said, I beg your pardon. They said, well, in the wintertime, you do something else besides garden. I had to agree with them. So I really can't give you a good answer to how to bring those back into bloom. You actually have kept them alive, so that's a lot to be said for where you are right now. But I do know that our greenhouse people at all 3 locations are very well equipped to tell you exactly what you should try to get those back into bloom, May. So I'm sorry that I really don't have a good answer for you on that one, but I sure do know where you can get the answer.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, we appreciate you watching the show.
Take care. Okay, let's see. Our next caller is Gretchen, who's calling from Forestville. Hi, Gretchen.
Hi, good morning, both of you. How are you this morning?
Great.
Very good, thank you.
Good. My question are twofold. First, my encore azaleas are blooming. Will this cold weather bother them?
Your encores are in bloom? That's
Yes.
fantastic. If they made it through last night, chances are they're going to make it through tonight. Sometimes when we get down in the 20s, it will affect them. I'm hoping that it's not going to affect my camellias. In fact, if I'd had the time, I would have gone out and used a sheet of that filmy
landscape fabric.
Yeah, well, it's not landscape fabric. And anyway, so then we're both blanking out. Thin fabric to stretch over it to give it just that row cover. Yeah, that's a good one. Whatever.
Oh.
It lets the sun go through and it lets the moisture go through also without damaging it. It can sometimes get things through a cold snap and move on. So you may lose the bloom on those azaleas, although you may not. So don't worry too much about it, you know, but here again, if you want to save it, even if you've got a light sheet or something tonight, it's supposed to be in the lower 20s, as I understand. Okay, now you said you had a twofold question, so there's another part?
Okay, the other one was regarding crepe myrtle.
Yes.
Should I if I want to trim my crepe myrtle, should I do it in late February, beginning March?
If I were you, I would do it in March. Find a really nice day and to do pruning on that. And think about what you want from this plant before you start pruning. Okay?
Right. Okay.
Because you don't have to prune.
I know.
But you can to direct growth or whatever.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Love y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have
Gretchen.
a great weekend. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Gloria. So, Gloria, hang on the line. We'll be right back with you. Okay, we're going to get right back to Gloria. Gloria, you there?
Yes, I am.
Good morning,
Thanks for
Gloria.
holding. How are you?
Just fine.
Good. What can we do for you today?
I started a fairy garden.
Oh, great.
And it's under a gumball, what I call a gumball tree. I know there's another name for it. But anyway, they still get a lot of sun. I planted some miniature evergreens. Then I transplanted them from like a 2-inch pot. They came into a 5-inch pot, and I buried them in the ground. Are they going to be all right this winter?
You took them out of the pot, right?
Out of the tiny pot, and I put them in a larger pot, a 5-inch pot.
That's a 5-inch pot. That's all. Now, see, you think big is 5 inches, and I don't.
No, okay.
Not when it goes through talking about going through the winter, okay? These plants, and I just picked up a couple of them, are incredibly interesting and incredibly winter hardy. And I'm so pleased that you've gotten into this, because a lot of people have. I've been doing it for years, and it's very rewarding. But a 5-inch pot is not a big pot. Not to get through the winter, particularly, okay?
Even if they're buried in the ground?
Well, if you've buried it in the ground, that's helpful in some respects. One thing it is doing, it's restricting moisture moving into it, okay, to a great degree. You might, if it's in the ground, you might consider taking it out of that pot and putting it into the ground. Be sure you water it really well. Anything that you plant right now, water really well, and check that watering before you do it again, or before the ground freezes, to be sure that it goes into winter moist but not wet. Next spring, when you want to put these plants back into a container, it's not going to be a big deal. It will be very easy to pop it out and put it into whatever you want to. But I would feel a little more comfortable with taking it out of that 5-inch pot. I have a lot of containers that have been growing for varying periods of time, some many years, and I'm not concerned about them getting through the winter. They came through last winter beautifully, but they were in larger containers than that, okay? Maybe that's not what you wanted to hear.
Well, okay, I guess I could dig them up, and the soil is very bad.
Okay.
And bury them in a larger pot I have for the winter.
Try that.
Okay.
Yeah, larger pot, but be sure you check your watering. Until that ground freezes, you want the soil to be moistened periodically, but not sopping wet. Now, I'm going to assume, Gloria, that you've got good drainage in the bottom of that pot.
Yes.
Okay, then you should be home free.
Great. Thanks so much, Gloria.
And enjoy, and thank you. And you're in Ashburn. Wonderful.
Yes. Yes, I get to the shop ever so often, and I enjoy your show.
Great.
Very good. Thank you, Gloria.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Jackie is calling from Cheverly, Maryland. Hey, Jackie.
Hello.
How are
Thank you for taking my call.
morning.
Good.
Our pleasure.
I have black-eyed Susies, I guess that's what you call them, mums and daisies, you know, and they're not looking good now. Should I cut them back?
It's a fine time to cut them back, actually.
Okay, so cut those things back.
We spent a fair amount of time this week in my own garden cutting back chrysanthemums, cutting back numerous things. And actually, when I finished, to just lightly dress it off with just a little bit of mulch. And I love, in some areas, to dress it off with some of the pine straw.
Great.
Tight is it for winter.
One other question. My next door neighbor has a tall, daisy-looking flower that flowered last month. Can I take the buds, those little black buds
Seed
from the daisy,
buds,
and plant them to make new plants?
You know, sometimes some things will seed themselves, and you can encourage that by scattering them around, not knowing exactly which plant you're talking about. I certainly do that with a lot of things, and there are some things that I leave up so that the birds can enjoy the seeds. The ornamental grasses I don't cut back until March, and a few things that are attractive I do leave up. And so you have nothing to lose by trying that with the seeds that are dry. Since I don't know exactly which plant you're talking about, it's kind of hard to answer that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Give it a try, Jackie. Nothing to lose.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's see. Joe is calling from Amosville, Virginia. Hi, Joe.
Hi, how are you?
Great, and you?
Good morning.
Just fine.
What can we do for you today?
Yeah, my question concerns an azalea bushes. We have azalea bushes that line our walkway to the front door. They're growing over the walkway a little bit. And can I trim them this time of the year? Because it's difficult to, people are brushing against them as they walk.
You can trim judiciously at this time of year, and by judicious, I really mean that, is going in and lightly pruning things or going down in to loosen things up. And you can prune away some of that azalea so that it's easier in the winter time to perhaps shovel or get through. But bear in mind, Joe, that if you prune now, you will lose bloom on whatever you prune for azalea time next season. Because the azalea buds are formed on last year's wood, so to speak. In other words, this year's wood will bloom next year. So if you cut now, wherever you cut, you're cutting off your bloom. So you've got to make that decision. Do you want to make it easier to pass over winter, or do you, that's your decision to make.
Joe, thank you. Thank you so much.
And one other thing, we're Amosville, Virginia.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought I said that. Yeah, that's great.
That's great.
Thank you so much for the call. Sorry to
Thank you. Thank you for the advice.
We've run out of time as always. This hour just flies by. Thank you for all this great advice on evergreens. Hope you're able to add beautiful evergreens and use them in your
And don't be afraid to do it at this time of the year. It's okay.
Absolutely. Next week we'll be talking about sprucing up for the holidays, both inside and out. So hope you'll join us for that. Come by and see us, and don't forget Ladies' Night.
Right.
Take care.
We have fun.
That's right.